I want to thank everybody who's made this forum on women in the economy possible. I thank Mika for helping moderate today and proving that on your show every morning that women really are the better half. Joe's not denying it. He's not denying it.
And he still doesn't deny it. That was President Obama in 2012 speaking at the White House Forum on Women and the Economy. It was an honor to be a part of that special day. And that message resounds more than ever today. Women play a critical role in driving and reshaping the economy. We are nearly half of the workforce. We are the sole or co-breadwinners in more than half of American families with children. And parity starts with leveling the playing field for ourselves and for the next generation. Getting equal pay for equal work. Yesterday on Equal Pay Day, which I think should be every day, I put forth a challenge to all women to empower another woman that you believe in. A man can do this as well. Empower a woman. Invest in her. Speak up for her. Go to knowyourvalue.com to learn how to do this and advocate for yourself and for others. Send me your stories. Tell me what you did via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at knowyourvalue.com and share it with your friends using the hashtag knowyourvalue. More now with former senior advisor to President Obama, Valerie Jarrett, who was there that day. You actually organized much of that event, as you did many others that pertain to elevating women and helping them become even more of a driving force in this economy. But it took a long road for you to get to the West Wing, in which you spent count them, 8. Who has spent 8 years in the White House? Who has served 8 years? Any counselor to the president?
No,
none.
ma'am.
Nobody has lasted that long. But Valerie did.
Loved every minute of it.
Every minute.
What an extraordinary privilege.
Well, I'm looking here, and I'm very jealous you met Pope Francis.
Unbelievable.
Oh, gosh.
Wow, that was a very cool day.
That's an amazing
the Dalai
day.
Lama.
And the Dalai Lama
not
several
fair.
times. Went to Dharamsala to meet the Dalai Lama.
So finding your voice got you there. Talk about the book and why you chose this as the focus.
Well, so my daughter, Laura, when she was 30, interviewed me, and the question she put to me is, what would you tell a 30-year-old Valerie Jarrett? And turns out I had a lot to say to a 30-year-old Valerie Jarrett. And then I started with thinking, well, maybe you have something to say to a 15-year-old Valerie Jarrett, a 45. And then I thought, well, why don't I just tell my story? And hopefully it's a story where people can see I started out a very shy young person, didn't trust my own voice, didn't speak up for myself or anybody else, and was really wallowing in mediocrity at a big law firm in an unhappy marriage. And I think having a child taught me, look, I want to do something that's going to make Laura proud of me. And a friend of mine said, why don't you try public service? And I joined the Harold Washington administration as a lawyer, never looked back. Learned to advocate for other people in the city of Chicago that I love, people who didn't have a seat at the table and weren't used to people looking out for them. And in the process, I also learned to advocate for myself, which you and I have talked about many times.
This is what we do, and we've been talking about it since the day we met, and you inspired my writing the book, Knowing Your Value. In fact, you wouldn't let me leave your office in the White House until I committed to it. So
I said, promise you will do it. And you did.
I did.
And then you did it again and again.
Many times. So, but talk about meeting the Obamas and potentially hiring Michelle Obama. What that conversation was like when you first met her.
Well, so Michelle Robinson was referred to me by Susan Schur, who went on to become her chief of staff. Susan was the head lawyer for the city, and she sent me her resume. Terrific young woman, got to meet her, doesn't want to be at a big law firm, is interested in public service. And in walks Michelle Robinson, tall, elegant, hair pulled back, and sees her resume on my desk and never mentions a word that's in it. She tells me her story, a story that is the quintessential American story that we all know so well. And I offered her a job on the spot. Didn't actually have any authority to offer her a job, did it anyway. And wisely she demurred. And a couple days later I was talking to her and I said, well, what do you think? And she said, well, my fiance doesn't think it's such a great idea. And so I said, well, who's your fiance and why do we care what he thinks? And she said his name is Barack Obama and he started his career as a community organizer and he's got some concerns. Will you have dinner with us? Oh. And boy, am I glad I said yes. And off to dinner we went.
An incredible dinner that was, Elise.
I am struck by
you describing yourself as shy ever.
Painfully shy.
Painfully shy.
Yeah.
And you go from being a young girl and painfully shy to literally being the top female advisor ever to a president and having a seat at the table with numerous world leaders.
Right.
And how did you really overcome that shyness too? And did you ever imagine yourself in such a leadership role?
Absolutely not. And I think I overcame it just by trial and error and keeping at it. And I remember the first time I gave a speech, I was a commissioner of planning and development for the city of Chicago. Nobody told me that public speaking was a part of the job or I wouldn't have taken it. And I had written out my notes on a piece of paper and I was so nervous I started to perspire and the notes became like all blurred, my hands covered in ink.
I hate it when that happens.
But I think
I
so
started
many women,
blushing.
so many
Happens all
women
the
have it because
time.
I was very shy.
You know the
You'd never
feeling
believe
then,
it,
right?
but yes, and this is
But
so
you know
impressive
what?
to me.
I got through that speech, and then I did it again and again and again, and eventually I got over it. And I think sometimes we shy away from getting outside of our comfort zone, and I got shoved outside of it, really, and practice.
And I actually urge all women to do what you've done and put yourself through that pain because it's not comfortable for us.
It's
I sweat
very
profusely in front of
uncomfortable.
crowds, and that's why you have to do it because no one is going to speak for you. So you have to learn. You have to feel that burn of the lights, of people looking at you, and you have to get through it. It's important, really.
Reps, and then it starts to feel
Reps.
natural.
I'm serious.
I think one of the parts of your story, Valerie, that most people don't know is that you were born in Iran and you lived there for 5 years, I think.
Amazing
What were the
story.
circumstances that had your family there, and how did that shape you?
Yeah, so my father was a physician, and when he was coming out of the Army, he couldn't find a job at any of the academic centers around the country, earning a salary equivalent to his white counterparts. This is in the mid-50s. And so he and my mom, who were adventuresome spirits, said, well, you know what, let's look outside of the United States. And he heard about a position opening a new hospital in Shiraz, Iran, and they asked him to be the head of the Department of Pathology. And off they went. They didn't know anything about the country. Obviously, we had much better diplomatic relations with Iran back then. And they didn't speak the language. I don't think they'd been any further than Europe by the time they went off around the world. And what an adventure it was. And the point that my father always made is taking that risk, getting way outside of his comfort zone, allowed him to do research that was unique, that caught the attention of someone in London at the Galton Labs, University College in London. And from there, the dean of the University of Chicago Medical Center heard about his research and recruited him, and he became the first black tenured professor there in the Division of Biological Sciences. And so I think the lesson there is sometimes the shortest distance you want to go is the longest way around, and get outside of that comfort zone. And I think early in my life when I was shy, I was kind of clinging to the safety of my plan that I made in college, my plan that really fell apart, and I had a hard time admitting that it fell apart. But when I finally did, and I listened to that quiet voice inside of me, and I joined city government, it's really where I found my voice. But it's uncomfortable, to your point, Mika, to get outside. But the adventure is in a zigzag. It really is.
Her 10-year plan did not work out.
We only have about a minute, but I want you to tell this story because I actually think, to go back to our earlier conversation, that every presidential candidate right now, as they're building their teams, getting ready to go, can learn something from the role that you played in the 2008 campaign, where you had an important role as a counterbalance to a bunch of people we all love, but a bunch of white guys in suits. David Axelrod, David Plouffe, Dan Pfeiffer, Robert Gibbs. Talk about the role you played in that campaign.
Well, I think what was important to President Obama was to surround himself with a variety of different voices. And I was a gateway to parts of the community that were important to his base, and act as a bridge and a surrogate and a fundraiser, and a person who wasn't afraid to tell him exactly what I thought. And I think he had that in spades, and I was just honored to play a part of two historic campaigns.
Amazing.
But also a female voice.
Yeah,
who other than his wife was the main female voice in that very guyish culture that was the campaign.
Well, you remember, he was raised by a single mom, lived with his grandmother and watched her struggle, married to a really incredible woman, and he has 2 daughters. And so I think he's used to being surrounded by strong women.
Well, congratulations. The book is Finding My Voice, My Journey to the West Wing and the Path Forward. Valerie Jarrett, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
That was so fun last night.
Always good to be with you.
And Valerie, it's not over between you and me.
I know.
Because there's more coming. Valerie is joining me at the Ascend Summit as one of the keynotes on May 10th in New York. Less than 5%, of course, of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. And Ascend Summit will be looking at new research on how to make meaningful change. Join us for an unparalleled conversation on how we're going to get women women into C-suites and on boards. Go to ascendcommitment.com for tickets. Valerie, thank you. See you there. That does it for us this morning. Stephanie Rule picks up the coverage right now.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.